Hello, scholars, and welcome back for part 2 of the third week vocabulary. If you didn't see it already, you might want to go back and look at vocabulary week 3, part 1, where we learned scold and considerate. Again, you're going to need a notebook and a pen or pencil. I'm using my reading notebook and a pen. Feel free to pause at any time so that you can write down anything that I write in my notebook. And here we go, continuing our lesson with the third word. The third word, I'm continuing on this page. If you ran out of room because of how much you wrote last time, feel free to turn the page. The third word is instruct. Instruct. Have you heard that word before? Do you know what it means? We're going to write the word and the definition in our notebook. Instruct. I-N-S-T-R-U-C-T. Instruct is a verb meaning to teach something to someone. And I know I wrote out of the video, but I wanted you to see it printed. Instruct, a verb meaning to teach something to someone. Let's take a look at this word in a sentence. My uncle is a lifeguard, so he can instruct me on pool safety. So the uncle can teach the speaker about pool safety, so we can use the word instruct. It would make just as much sense to say, my uncle is a lifeguard, so he can teach me about pool safety. All right, now I want to go to the next line and number our paper 1 through 5. I like to go across the line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because we're not going to use a lot of space. You're either going to put a check or an X. Today, you're going to put a check if the sentence has the same meaning as instruct, and an X if it doesn't. So if it means instruct, put a check. If it does not mean instruct, put an X. Number 1, train. Train. Put a check or an X. Number 2, tutor. Tutor. Put a check or an X. Number 3, learn. Learn. Put a check or an X. And number 4, coach. Put a check or an X. Coach. Number 5, study. Study. Put a check or an X. All right, let's go over the answers. Number 1, train. Check. If you're training somebody or something like a puppy, you train your puppy, you're teaching them. Number 2, tutor. Check. If someone was to get tutored in math, someone would be teaching them math. Learn. Learn would be an X because it's the opposite of teach. Number 4, coach. Coach would be a check because if you coach someone, you're teaching them, you're instructing them. Number 5, study. Study, I would put an X. If you're studying, it's kind of more similar to learning, which is the opposite of teach. So now I want to go to the next line and think about a special skill or talent you have. How would you instruct others so that they could also learn that skill? I'll give you a sentence starter if you would like to use it. If you don't want to use it, you can use whatever sentence you'd like. A special skill I have is, and then I'm going to start a new sentence. I could instruct others by. So tell us your special skill and tell us how you could instruct others in that same skill. Pause the video if you need more time. Would like a really nice detailed sentence. All right, we're going to move on to the fourth word. Make sure I'm getting this space. The fourth word is canine. Canine. Have you heard that word before? Do you know what it means? So we're going to write the word and definition in our notebook. Oops. Make sure we can see everything. All right, canine. C-A-N-I-N-E. A canine is a noun. It is an animal that belongs to the dog family. An animal that belongs to the dog family is a canine. And I went off screen there, but I wanted you to see the definition throughout. So let's take a look at using this word in a sentence. It's not hard to see that dogs and wolves are both canines. So your dog at home and a wolf are both part of the dog family, so they are both canines. All right, so now we're going to number our paper 1 through 5. I like to go across the line to save paper. And what you're going to do is you're going to put a check if what I say belongs to a canine, and an X if what I say does not belong to a canine. Ready? Number 1, fur. Fur. Put a check or an X. Number 2, claws. Claws. Put a check or an X. Number 3, scales. Scales. Put a check or an X. Number 4, fangs. Fangs. Put a check or an X. And number 5, feathers. Feathers. Put a check or an X. All right, let's go over the answers. Number 1, fur, check. Dogs have fur, canines have fur. Number 2, this one is a check. Claws are the nails on the dog or canine's paw, so they definitely have claws. Number 3, scales. Scales is an X. Scales belong to reptiles, not canines. Number 4, fangs. Fangs would be a check. Fangs are just the names of pointy teeth. Dogs and other canines have pointy teeth. Number 5, feathers. Feathers is an X. Dogs and canines don't have feathers. Birds do. All right, so we're going to go to this next line for our writing prompt. If you own a canine, what would you do to care for it? If you owned a canine, what would you do to care for it? You can start by writing, if I owned a canine, I would care for it by. Then you would continue the sentence. You don't have to use my sentence starter if you don't want to, but if you were having trouble starting your sentence, this is a great way to start your sentence. You're telling me, if you owned a canine, what would you do to care for it? Pause the video if you need more time. It's nice when we write nice, detailed sentences. But that's all I have for today. Week 3 vocabulary. We learned scold, considerate, instruct, and canines. I'll see you next time for vocabulary week 4.